at the scene. As reactions continue to pour in, the question on many minds is whether this incident is indicative of a larger problem. Is Keir Starmer out of touch with the everyday struggles of ordinary people? Or was this simply a misunderstanding blown out of proportion? What do you think? Was it right for Keir Starmer to skip the queue, given his security requirements? Or should he have waited like everyone else? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video if you believe fairness should always come first. In other news, Labour has been issued a stark warning about their planned inheritance tax changes for farmers, claiming they could drive more agricultural workers into poverty and potentially suicide. Speaking to the media, commentator Sarah Louise Robertson condemned Chancellor Rachel Reeves's proposed tax measures on the farming community. On New Year's Eve, over 4,000 farmers gloriously lit beacons of hope across the UK.
Most of you already know that Keir Starmer, the UK's Prime Minister, and his family are on holiday in Madeira. It is the family's first getaway since he became Prime Minister. What most of you don't know is that this move has upset many people across the country. But it isn't just those in Britain that are upset with Starmer. Even there in Portugal, hundreds of tourists are not happy with Starmer. We are going to discuss this latest development in today's video. Stick around till the end for the full details. According to reports, Starmer and his family were involved in a queue jumping incident that left many tourists on the Portuguese island of Madeira frustrated and angry. The scene unfolded during a visit to Madeira's famous toboggan ride. Footage circulating online appears to show his car being driven to the front of a queue for a toboggan ride. In the video, Sir Keir and his family are ushered to the front of a queue in which some people had waited as long as 3 hours before his son and daughter were shown to their seats on the ride. Several of the onlookers, many of whom were British, reportedly booed as they recognised the person being taken to the front of the line, with one being heard to shout, "Get to the back of the queue." Onlooker Russell Shachter, 64, from Ilford, spoke to The Sun describing what happened, and the more he spoke, the worse the situation looked. "We arrived around 10 AM and queued with everyone else for ages, even though we had pre-booked the rides. There were lots of Brits off the cruise ships, and everyone was typically patient and well-mannered. Until we had finally got right to the front, when the queue was halted. I happened to be videoing just after 1 PM at the moment when I recognised Keir Starmer arriving in a car with his security team in another vehicle, and stood there smiling as his 2 kids were taken straight to the front of the queue and were put straight on the ride. But people who had been lining up all morning were not quite so happy, and quite a few boos and calls of "get to the back of the queue" went up. Can you imagine standing in the queue for 3 hours? Only for somebody to walk in and take your place? But that wasn't all that happened, Russell continued. Once his kids went off, he was then driven straight to the bottom of the toboggan run to meet them. We went behind them and were held up again as his kids were collected and driven away. It is not that the tourists don't understand that Starmer is in a privileged position and has security issues, but it was still a difficult pill to swallow to see him pushing to the front after they queued for 3 hours. It is common courtesy to acknowledge the struggle of these people and how long they have been there, but Starmer pressed through like he owned the place. For people like Russell, he knows Brits are famous for being good at queuing, and it was a difficult pill to swallow. Social media users were split on the matter, with some pointing out that it would be unrealistic and unsafe for all if the leader of the UK stood in a busy queue for hours. But the majority argued why Starmer and his family couldn't have gone earlier to avoid the time of the people who arrived before them. One ex-user, the TV Grump, meanwhile joked, "The sled is going down faster than Keir's approval rating." Some critics have pointed out that this behaviour reflects poorly on Starmer and his leadership style. So what could have been a private family moment in the spirit of the festive season has quickly turned into a public relations nightmare for the PM. The controversy has not only upset British holidaymakers, but also visitors from other countries who witnessed the scene. As more people react to the incident, the question on the minds of most is this incident an indication of a larger issue? Is Keir Starmer out of touch with the everyday struggles of ordinary people, or is this simple misunderstanding that is given too much attention? What do you think? Was it right for him and his family to skip the queue like the rest of the holiday makers, or should he have waited in line? While Starmer is on holiday, the Labour Party is having more problems at home, and some of them are even within the party. 20 councillors at a local authority in Nottinghamshire have quit Labour, saying the party has abandoned traditional Labour values under Keir Starmer's leadership. The move means Labour has lost overall control of Broxtowe Borough Council, which it gained in 2023, and those defecting include the council leader, Milan Radulovic, who had been a party member for 42 years. They were particularly critical of the cut to the winter fuel allowance, the bus fare increase, and Labour's plans to scrap two-tier county and district councils, which are to be merged to create large unitary authorities. One councillor, Ross Bowfinger, posted a picture of a cut-up Labour Party membership card on social media, alongside a statement that read, "I'm leaving the Labour Party because it has grown increasingly distant from ordinary people." The councillors claim about 100 grassroots Labour members in the area have also quit the party, and that 10 members of the group were blocked from standing as county council candidates in May's local elections after openly criticising the winter fuel allowance cut. The Broxtowe Labour group said, "It is incredibly disappointing that some Broxtowe councillors have decided to leave the Labour Party and sit as independents when they were elected on a Labour ticket just over 18 months ago." Since the general elections in the UK, a wave of resignation has hit the Labour Party, with most of those leaving the party critical of Starmer and his leadership style. Former Labour MP Rosie Duffield was one of them. She also quit the party earlier this year to sit as an independent, citing the winter fuel payment cut as well as a refusal to lift the two-child benefit cap. Duffield had clashed previously with the Labour leadership and some party members because of her gender-critical views. She even mentioned the freebies scandal as one of the most difficult things she had to go through as a member of the Labour Party before she left. It is a new year, but it is obvious that Starmer still has the same old problems in addition to new ones. He has to find a way to quickly turn things around and restore the confidence of party members in him before trying to rally millions of people within the country around him. Do you think Starmer was right to jump the queue in Madeira? What do you think of Labour members who are resigning?